Alright, so this is just a quick heads up. We're showing a short snippet here under New Zealand's fair dealing laws. It's to support the real stuff my partner mentions in the following video. And yeah, this actually happened. So stick around because we're gonna unpack the full story here. Alright, kia ora, welcome. So we're going to be doing our first podcast ever. This podcast is part of a journey that my partner's going through. And he was sharing. Oh yeah, I'm going to be looking at this phone a lot.
I don't know how the professionals do this shit, but like...
I need to look at my phone. So... He grew up in a closed religious community here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, called Drury Christian Church and School. They're not secretive. Their website is public. Their school's online. They upload to YouTube. But the way they operate behind the scenes is a whole different story. We're not here to stir up drama, name and shame anyone, so we're not going to be naming any of the leaders, any of the people that run it, because that's not what we're about. This is just his story told in his own time, in his own words, and about growing up in a high-control environment. How it shaped him, and what it's been like to unpack all of it as an adult, finally. And so he was really young when he went in, and he's blocked a lot of it out, because that's really common for people who go through this kind of thing. It's part of a survival instinct. These days he's in therapy though, and he's slowly working through what happened. What was real and what actually was pushed onto him, like forced onto him. So this series is just for people who have been through something similar or just want to understand what it's actually like to be raised in a world where everything in the outside was called evil and you weren't allowed to think for yourself at all. The first episode is called Before the Cult, because we're going to be talking about what life was like before his family got pulled into it, the grief they were carrying, and how his mum was searching for answers and ended up taking her kids into something that was a bit more intense than she probably realised or would like to admit to. Alright, so this first bit is going to be about early life and your family background. You're good to start with that?
Yep. Let's do this.
Alright, so we're going to go all the way back to when you were born.
I'm ADHD, so I'm going to be fidgeting a lot.
That's my spin.
Well, give me a spinner then.
You were born in September of 94?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know much about what was happening for your mum or family around that time, or even before you were born? Like, do you know much about anything of that?
I only know what I've been told.
So
obviously, so from mum, dad doesn't really talk about it at all, as can be understood.
Yeah.
So I know that. Well, I like to think that my family was a happy family somewhere. They got married, I got told, when she was pregnant with me. But whether that's true or not, I don't know what is true and what isn't when it comes to early family life. Also think that my family was involved in the brethren, but I'm not entirely sure again.
So, like, was it just you when you came along? Were you the first kid born?
Second kid.
Oh yeah.
Second kid.
So a lot of this is actually going to include an older sibling then?
Yes.
Yeah, but none.
We're not going to name...
No. But a lot of this will be including an older sibling. Like, so it's going to be you, your mum, and this older sibling a lot of the time. That's your immediate family, basically, at that point?
That's my immediate family.
Dad coming in sometimes.
We will probably talk more about my story and my side of things because it seems he had a vastly different experience than me.
Okay, so we're going to be mainly talking about your mum and you and your brother's childhood, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, when you were born, not long after, there was a bit of a tragedy that happened.
There was another sibling that was born stillborn. He passed away at birth.
Did you want to say his name?
His name was Jacob. That's kind of where my family started spiraling out of control.
So you're about 14 months older than Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was born in about November of 95 then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd be 30 this year.
Yeah.
So that's where our family started spiraling out of control, and I don't really know what happened in the immediate follow-up of that. I've been told certain things, but I don't know how true these things are. It's what happens when you go through traumatic situations like that.
So what things did you do? What things do you know of that you've been told personally, that you've been personally told?
I got told that we lived in a tent on a beach for quite a while. I got told that that's what turned my dad into an alcoholic, and he would just sit there with speakers blasting into his ears on either side of him with a can in his hand for hours on end. And yeah, eventually I got told that my mother ran away from him during a violent episode. He tried to take me, got stuck in the mud. Mum pulled me out of the car and went and hid in basically a bobby calf pen out the front until one of her friends picked her up and they left. This is all what I've been told, so I don't know how true it is.
Yeah. Alright. So, like, you were only about just over one when Jacob was stillborn. But, like, has that come up, has that loss come up later in your life? Like, do you feel like that grief was almost a part of the atmosphere you grew up in almost?
Yes.
Was it
I know, I felt that when I was older.
Yeah.
I would often sit there on my birthday or something and think, what if I had a younger sibling, or, I thought about it a lot when I was growing up. I don't know.
Was he spoken about much? Like, in your younger... Do you remember him getting spoken about much at all? Like,
not really.
Did your mum ever...
I knew about it my entire life. Mum didn't keep it a secret or anything, but also didn't talk about it much.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah. So it was kind of like... It was just almost like an elephant in the room half the time.
Yeah.
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 Do you think that loss and your mum's situation kind of shaped how things unfolded for her?
Shaped how our whole family unfolded the way it did.
Do you think it kind of helped motivate her in a way to want to go to something with a bit more structure, since everything kind of seemed a bit chaotic at that point?
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Like, because everything might have been a bit chaotic for her, so seeking some kind of form of structure might have been a saving grace almost for her.
Well, yeah.
But then also it might have been a bit of a help as well for her at the same time, almost a bit of a healing journey for her to embark on, kind of thing.
Definitely.
She might have just gone a bit the wrong way about it, maybe.
Yeah. She would have felt very lost. Her relationship deteriorated. She had 2 kids.
Were you say like a naughty kid? Like, were you and your brother, were you 2 like naughty kids almost?
When we were...
Like, would you have been hard to handle type of thing?
I like to say that we weren't, but there was an instance where I painted the house with mud on my hands, so maybe...
Was this prior to moving?
Yep. There was also an instance where I got my first pocket knife. We climbed a massive pile of tree branches that had been put down when the contractors cut the trees down outside our house. They piled them all up. We climbed down. I lost my pocket knife in that. It was terrible.
Was the rat prior to moving?
No.
Ah, you guys will get to find out about that later on. That's great.
That was another pocket knife story. There was an instance where we almost set the paddock on fire outside our house, but that was Mum, not us.
Now I know why you got an assification with fire. What the heck?
That's what I got it from my dad.
Yeah, well, that's why I thought I was going to say I thought it was just from your dad, but maybe it's from both
Yeah,
of
it's
them.
from both of them. Mum like cooking on a campfire.
Oh yeah, he's ADHD and I'm autistic by the way, and a bit ADHD, so a bit ADHD.
So I like how
That's why I'm moving a lot.
I was a mischievous child. I wouldn't like to say naughty. I was mischievous.
No, I wouldn't say naughty.
How do you put it when you're intrigued in everything?
Curious.
Curious, yeah. Very curious child.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very active.
Wanting to know, like, were you questionative as well? Like, would you question things?
Yeah.
You're like, what's that? How does that work?
I think so.
What was your relationship like with your brother prior to all of that? Like, do you remember that?
We were very, very close.
Is that why he's painted the house with tomatoes?
That was a different instance.
What did you say? Mud?
Mud. Yeah, we used a bucket, filled it up with mud and water, and started painting the house with it. The tomatoes was a completely different incident. That was later on.
Something that you get to hear about later on too. But do you remember anything like particular that your mum and your brother did? Like anything prior to going in there? Do you remember like a really fun day or like?
We drove our car. We had a car. I remember this yellow car that we had. It was a yellow car. It was really cool. It was old school. It was a really cool yellow car. We drove it down a verge. It was wide berm on the side of the road.
Yeah.
We let the dogs out of the side of the car and we'd drive the car along the verge to run them, to exercise them. And we're sitting there, me and Tara running around the back seat going, yeah, wow, go dogs, jumping out each window like we were puppies in the back seat. And the dogs are running alongside the car and Mum's like, yeah. Doesn't see the ditch coming up.
I can actually imagine this.
Doesn't see the ditch coming up. Straight into a ditch. Sent me and Tara flying in the back of the car. We just about went through the windows.
Do you maybe remember anything that doesn't involve your mum breaking any laws and potentially killing her children?
No. No. I remember a giant loquat tree outside our house.
Yeah?
Yeah. That was on the road that I took you down.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a giant loquat tree outside that house. We used to love the loquats from it. Yeah, there was an interesting, fun childhood there, like between like sort of 2 to 4 years old. There was a lot. Like I feel like there was good memories there. I have good memories of that time. I remember my 4th birthday. That was the earliest memory I have of my dad actually turning up. He came to visit me.
If we rewind a little bit, so you're saying that you're talking about how your mum and dad are separated at this point in that.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that? Like, what caused their separation? What you were saying about your dad? Was it because your dad was being an alcoholic or something, and your mum? Was that situation with the bobby calf pen? Was that the point where? Was that the last point you actually saw your dad in a while?
I don't remember any of that happening.
Yeah.
I was too young.
So you did see your dad after that? Were they together after that?
I don't know.
Were they ever together again before you went back into that community?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So that whole thing that happened with the bobby calf pen and my dad being drunk and all of that, it's only what I've heard
Yeah.
from my mother.
But at that point, so they were
I-
separated at that point.
They separated then.
Did you hear? So what else about that separation? And like, as a child, you know, like what else did you know about that situation?
I don't know.
So you just never saw your dad, basically,
I saw him on my 4th birthday.
and that was it.
And I do have pictures of us playing on a playground when I was between 4 to 5, I think. But I don't remember it.
You don't remember it, yeah.
I don't remember. So I know that happened. I know that he was there on my 4th birthday. I don't know what the relationship was between him and my mother.
Was there apparently any like infidelity or anything going on, or
I don't know.
you don't know?
I don't know. I don't even know who my mother was involved with at this point. I remember some people she was hanging around, but there was just random people.
Yeah.
Like, we had friends, I guess, and we didn't have friends at the same time. We were friends with the neighbours at one point until our dog bit them. Well, they teased our dog. They teased him and he bit them, and then they got him put down. And we never talked to them again.
So we're going to fast forward just a tiny little bit then, going on from there.
Okay.
Alright, so your mum was raising you and your older brother on her own.
He was 2 years older than me, but
Yeah.
so that's
And this
how old
is-
we were. We were both very young.
Yeah. Even though you were young, do you know how she found out about these people?
No idea. Not a clue.
No idea.
No idea. I honestly, I racked my brain over that for a long time.
Did you ever remember any of them ever being in your life prior?
No. I am wondering, and this is just a random thing that I've come up with.
Yeah.
She went into women's refuge, and I am wondering if one of them was involved with women's refuge.
And potentially that's how she may have found out about
That's how she met them.
Because a bit of background about your mum maybe might be a bit helpful. So, like, was your mum a highly religious person? Do you remember her being highly religious or anything like that?
She was always religious. I always thought she was religious.
Yeah.
I've always known her to be religious. I mean, my grandparents, her parents were religious.
Yeah.
Her mother was a minister. Her father was,
Yeah.
her father.
And so, is she Christian?
She's picky and choosy. She picks and chooses what she wants to believe in.
Can you elaborate on that a bit?
When I was a kid, I thought she was Christian. I knew her as Christian. I knew her as being involved in the Christian community.
So when you say Christian, because like I have a lot of Christian family members, and I would think that they're quite normal, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not saying that your mum's not normal or anything, but it's just like I wouldn't say that they're extreme. Does that make sense? I would probably be able to sit down and have a healthy conversation and a healthy debate over certain topics and that, and then walk away at the end of the day still having a loving relationship with my family member. Does that make sense? Like, is that the type of person that your mum was then? Like, I know you were only quite young, but like, did you ever feel like it was that religion was shoved down your throat, so to speak, like as a child?
Very much so.
Like, were you given room to have a look and just be like, just be a kid almost?
So,
because I know that's why you're talking about fun days and stuff like that. But were those fun days filled with like happy times and that, or were they also filled with biblical lessons and stuff along the way and stuff?
It was always biblical lessons. It was always religion. Religion was the be all and end all of everything. The only books we ever got was religious books.
So I know you're talking about like, sorry, just to interrupt you for a second, but I know you were talking about like religious books just then. So like, does that include like religious TV programs and stuff like that?
We didn't have TV. at all. That was never.
Why was that? Can I just...
Because it was evil.
The TV was evil?
TV was evil, you get evil programs. It's open to the world that is trying to corrupt your mind constantly. It's evil.
That's pretty
Evil
heavy.
comes through
That's
it.
pretty heavy. Like, so I know that you're interpreting that as an adult nowadays, but did you think... I know that you can't really remember much, but did you think that you were getting deprived like that as a child almost?
When you're a child that's in that and all you're getting shown is this religious circle, you don't get shown anything outside
Did
of
you
it.
ever see any cousins?
We were estranged from our whole family. I knew some of my cousins, some of my family. We got to see them maybe once every couple
So
of years.
yeah, because you were about 4 at this point. Still,
Yeah,
remember?
so
like,
the closest ones we were closest with would have been our grandparents,
Yeah.
or me and my brother's grandparents. Excuse the sirens. We live in the hood, apparently.
hood life, lad.
So
good.
the closest we were with it was with our grandparents, but even that was estranged. I don't think they agreed with how my mother was raising us. I don't know what went on there. I just know there was a massive conflict there.
And I know we may be jumping forward a little bit, but even just comments in the recent years that you got from one of your aunties even about how she despised the way that your mother was raising you. Remember when we were over there? Like,
Yeah.
because what was that quote? She was like, and I quote, like, basically like, you were getting a Bible shoved down your throat, and she was saying like, instead of a bedtime story, it's a Bible story.
Oh
And,
yeah,
like,
no, that's what I mean when I said we had Bible books and that was it. Any books that we got read was from the Bible.
and that was an
That was bedtime stories, anything. It was all from the Bible. I didn't know what do you call them? Those ones that you always sing, like
nursery rhymes.
nursery rhymes or any of that. I didn't know any of those. I didn't know
So,
what they were.
and that was an auntie that you didn't actually really realize was around as much as she actually told you. So
I didn't-
is it possible that even in saying that your mum was trying to limit the kind of exposure of types of people that you were getting exposed to?
Definitely.
Is that like a possible thing that you could say?
So that auntie there,
Yeah.
the one that you're talking about, I didn't actually properly meet her until I was about 12.
Yeah, she actually knew your
But
childhood
she apparently knew my entire
and was
childhood.
trying to come and visit you guys. But your mum wouldn't allow that type of influence. And like, I've met that auntie. She's a lovely auntie.
But if
I got along with her straight
we're,
away.
if we're circling back to that question of did I feel like I was deprived when I was a child? Now I feel like I was deprived.
As
Back
a child.
then, when I had that entire life, and that's all I knew, I didn't know TV existed. I didn't know cartoons existed. So you don't feel deprived when you're a kid when you don't know those kinds of things existed.
So in saying that you don't actually know how she ended up finding Drury.
No, I don't.
But was she already exploring different options then maybe, or beliefs even? Like, I know you said that she was picky and choosy, so like, can you kind of elaborate on that? And it's just kind of giving everyone a bit of an aspect of what kind of childhood you actually grew up in. So like, when you say picky and choosy, I'm imagining someone that's like, I like this out of the Christian, I like this out of the Quran, I like this out of Judaism, I like this out of paganism. Like, are you, like, that's what I'm imagining.
So I'm going to mention several different religions here. I have no hate towards any of them. There's no racism, nothing with this. They hate the Quran.
Yeah.
They hate Muslims with a passion.
But like, that's what I mean. That's what I'm imagining is someone like going around and just going to like almost drawing out of a hat and being like, oh yeah, I like that out of that religion.
Yes and no. So the two religions that they pick out the most is Judaism and Christianity, and my mum picks out of both of them. She follows certain aspects from the Old Testament, certain aspects from the New Testament. Whatever she feels is right on the day, she'll follow it. And then there's aspects from Judaism as well, and aspects from
So
Orthodox.
was there a particular, say, culture or like identity that she was influencing the most around you guys?
For that, it was just Christianity.
Yeah.
To start with, it was just Christianity. Later on, it became Judaism and all this Jewish stuff and all that crap. Well, not crap, but like...
So is it almost safe to say that you've seen a lot of phases of identity almost? Like,
oh, yeah.
And did that influence you in any way, though, as a child, even? Just as a little child, like, being like, one day we're following this and then the next day we're following that?
So it wasn't really day by day, it was more like...
Yeah, but
you
so...
watched it over a few years.
Being such a strict religious woman, you guys were going to church every Sunday then?
Not as little kids, not until we moved into the
Even though that was such a strict environment, you weren't going to a church every Sunday?
Not that I remember, no.
Because we're reading the Bible, doing basically like what, daily devotionals and stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
I understand Christianity. I've been in the church also, like, and I don't actually have any hate towards any kind of religion or anything like that. That's why I know the exact words that I'm using. That's why I know about devotionals and stuff. So just relax, lads.
So it was always Bible reading, songs, prayers,
like hymns, praise and worship,
from the storybooks,
stuff like that.
Everything else.
Yeah.
Like, it was always that, and then. Yeah, it just spiraled, like... So it started out pretty tame when I was really young. I remember that much. It was pretty tame. We were pretty free kids when we were about 4. We had loads of pets. We had puppies, we had dogs, we had cats, we had kittens, we had chickens, rabbits, guinea pigs. And me and my brother fight over who had the rabbit and who had the guinea pig. We still do till this day. But... after we moved, that was all gone. There was no freedom. That was it. It was like
if
lockdown.
I remember from the beginning, you were saying your brother is 2 years older than you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're, say, about 4 when you've moved into this place, he's about 6 at this point then. So that means when you're about 3, he's 5. So about a whole year prior to you even thinking of moving in that. So he was going to school?
Wasn't going to school. My mother does not believe in the public schooling system at all.
So he was going to a private school?
No, I think...
Is it because it's still part of the public? Correct. What about a religious school? Because they have religious private schools and stuff like that, technically.
And we couldn't afford private schools as far as I know.
Okay.
I think she was homeschooling him in the ACE curriculum, and that could have been another way that she found out about the community, is if she went into that curriculum and looked at the schools that...
Because it's the whole homeschooling community thing.
Yeah, it's
it's the network or something that she was a part of.
Yeah, it was like a network.
And it like gives you like curriculums and that, and it gives you support to people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's meant to be really good, eh?
No.
No, like in terms, it's actually meant to be really good because it's meant to be an alternative to...
Yeah.
It just gets mixed up when religion gets involved in it too heavily.
Yeah.
Just like with anything else, because it just becomes too extreme.
That's the thing with religion, it's
like anything in general
is good in moderation.
You need a balance.
You have to have a balance.
Yeah.
You have to be able to question things. If you can't question things, well then there's a problem.
Okay. So, do you think that she was looking for something like stability, community, maybe even like... maybe even in a weird sense kind of someone that will help control her, and you got like someone that will give her like, you have to do this now, you have to do that now, in a weird kind of way.
So from what she told me and what she tells me to this day is that what she was looking for is that she couldn't handle raising 2 boys by herself, so she was looking for support with that, and she was looking for someone to control her because she doesn't believe in women having free spirit, I think. So
she was actually asking for someone... So she actually likes being...
In a weird way, she wanted help, but she also wanted to be controlled.
Because she doesn't believe that women can make their own minds up with things.
I don't know what goes through her head a lot of the time when it comes to that.
But a lot of it is to do with not
she doesn't believe that women should be in power, but I don't know if that came from the church, if that was
her own belief
before then.
It's a pretty strong belief to have, though, especially being a woman yourself. It's a pretty strong belief.
It's really strange.
And so was there ever, like, a moment when anyone around her kind of questioned it or pushed back? I know you were saying that it seems like a few of the family members might not have agreed with it.
My grandparents, her parents, they pushed her. They fought with her over it. There was a massive fight there. And
Do you remember this as a child?
I have a vague memory of it. I know I was kept away from it. But I know I heard Mum talking about it and stuff.
Yeah.
I think them fighting with her over it actually pushed her further into it.
It was almost like I'm an adult, I can do what I want, and I can look after my family.
It's really weird when you come across her complex of I need to be controlled. So, I mean, some of the stuff just she doesn't, like, I don't know, some of it doesn't make sense, but a lot of it is, I'm going off what she told me, so, yeah.
So, we're going to touch on this lightly, because it's actually going to be a part of the full episode on your time there, but I just lightly want to touch on what you remember on, like, because you were only 4 when you actually moved there. Like, you had your 5th birthday there, so you were still 4 years old. Like, what's the earliest thing you actually remember of that place? Do you remember, like, unpacking the bags there?
I don't remember unpacking the bags. What I feel like is my earliest memory there was walking across a deck and staring up at a windmill that was next to the deck, and think of, like, how they always portray cults and stuff in America, where even in Far Cry 6, Far Cry 5, Far Cry 6, the cult, when they have their picture, they have a freaking windmill there. My earliest memory is walking past this windmill and just looking at it and wondering what it was. I was curious. I was like, what's that? And then I found out later on that it actually provides power. But this is my earliest memory of it.
Did you get told anything by your mum before you moved there? Like, did she say that you guys are going to, like, a farm, or did she say you guys are going to go and see friends or move in with family or something? Like, what were you actually told?
I don't remember moving there at all. I have no memory of that. I don't. So the closest thing I can remember there is we lost all of our pets. So we had to get rid of all of our pets. There was a rabbit. I missed that rabbit dearly after that. We had to give away all of our pets, everything. The cats, the dogs, the rabbit, the guinea pig, the chickens, the whole lot. They were all gone. And I remember sitting there and arguing with Mum going, can I keep my rabbit? She's like, no, it's going to the farm. And I was like, okay. And then we moved to a farm and I asked her where my rabbit was. Yeah. I think I kept looking in the paddocks to see if I could see it running around.
Like,
yeah.
So, like, I know, so when you walked on the deck, would you say that was within, like, your first week of being there?
Yeah.
Like, the first day almost of being there?
Yeah. So? Wondering if it was my 5th birthday, and that's why I remember it.
So, like...
yeah.
Did it feel... In that first week, like, I know you can't remember well, but did it already feel kind of strict, like, from the time that you got there? Like, did it feel... Or did they almost cozy you guys in?
They definitely cozied us. Definitely. 100%. I don't... So... When we first moved in there, we lived in a giant caravan. And... It was a big caravan with, like, 2 rooms. It was huge. It was a mean caravan, actually, when I think about it. I don't remember much of this time. I have a photo. This was the last time that I saw my grandparents in years. It was when they came visit us. That's when the massive fight happened, when they tried to tell Mum, this is not good for you. It's not good for our grandkids. So we stayed there. While we were staying in that caravan, that's when... So, once we're there, it was all good. Everything was good. And then it started getting stricter. They didn't like me having a teddy bear, so they took it away from me. like that kind of thing. Like it just little bits at a time, you know, like it doesn't go straight away strict. You're there strict. You get rid of this, get rid of that, get rid of this. I saw them do that to other people when they moved in there, but they don't do it in a way of this is. We suggest you do this. We think this is not good. Like that.
Do you remember that from being young as well? Like that young, between the ages of 4 and 5? Do you remember hearing those words?
I remember losing my teddy bear. It was a kookaburra. It was a little kookaburra. It was about this big, and that was what helped me sleep every night. That was my thing. That was like, right, you're old enough now. Time to let that go.
So like, did anyone actually, even when, so like being there, did anyone of the kids talk to you guys, like tell you what kind of place you were living in, almost? Like
the kids that were there were raised there. That's all they knew.
So they didn't actually. So world. They also believed that the outside was evil. So you guys came from the outside. So did they almost? So does that mean that they thought you guys were evil?
Well, we got shunned quite a bit
because you are from the outside.
So we moved in with a family there. That's where the caravan was. This family we stayed with them, and it was us staying with them for this certain amount of time. Like it was like a year that we were there before we could actually have our own house there. And while we were there with them, we kind of stayed away from everyone else there. Like, I don't remember much of it. I think that's when we started schooling as well as... Yeah, because I would have been 5. Yeah, so we started schooling then. But like...
We'll touch more on that.
We'll touch more on that later. We'll touch more on all of that later on.
Within that first, like... So I'm talking about, like, the first week there kind of thing. Like, I'm trying to... Like, the very first memories you have of it there, you know? What do you remember thinking about the adults in the place? Like, how they dressed, how they spoke, and, like... Did the personality of your mum that you knew change even just within the first being of there?
I don't think I remember enough of it to actually answer that correctly, but I do know that the whole time I was there, I always thought the adults were really weird.
Like, do you remember how they dressed or anything like that? Like,
yeah,
what can you describe anything?
So, it was always plain clothes, no logo showing.
Was it like almost like 60s, 70s, like...
Kind of.
Modest housewife. Like,
yeah, very, very modest, very modest.
So, like, almost like Brady Bunch styles for you guys that are old enough to know what the Brady Bunch are.
Think of it this way.
Addams Family, I Dream of Jeannie, that kind of style.
We had a swimming hole in the river that we would always go down for a swim. You're a guy, you don't take your shirt off. That kind of level of modesty.
Do you remember your mum talking around any of them? Like, do you remember how your mum, even just the way that your mum, like, was with you guys once she got there, was she different in any way? Like, was it a different vibe? Did you feel that same happy, because you said, like, it was a happy childhood, you know, like, it was a happy family time. Did you feel that same happiness when it was you guys in that area when you first got there?
That's a loaded question. So, when we were, before we moved there, before we moved there, me and my brother, we felt free. We were running around the paddocks with the dogs. We were exploring, climbing trees, painting the house with mud, making mess, like, living our best life. We were happy there. We felt free. After that, the next year, no. We didn't feel free. We didn't... I didn't feel happy. There was definitely a shift
in the whole atmosphere of how you guys were. Was it almost like a monotonous vibe? Like,
yeah, definitely. Like, it was like it flat, like
almost like it needed life support, basically. Like,
yeah,
it was beeping, it needed life support.
So now that I think about it, because I never really thought about it like that, like, I felt free, I felt happy, it all went away.
Yeah,
I felt trapped.
Yeah.
Like, it was just flat. Like, yeah, there was everything there, but it was a constant, you're being watched, you're being controlled. Like,
if you have too much of this, if you do too much of that, don't do enough of this, don't do enough of that.
don't say that, don't wear that, don't look this way, don't do that, don't, you know.
And that's even what you remember as just being that young child and just being there in that beginning time, you know, like.
Yeah.
So, like, do you think being so young made it easier for that environment to just become the everyday norm for you then?
Yeah, easily. Yeah, because I don't remember much of the world before.
So it was easy to shape you almost.
And because of how strict everything, I guess, how everything was shoved down our throat before we moved there, going there was basically just more of that.
It was just normal.
So it was normal.
It was just another part of your life that was happening.
It was just more people that were like us, and it just basically reinforced the idea that
this is every day, this is how people are, and anyone else that isn't living like this is actually quite weird.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you is almost...
When you don't know anything of the outside world, that becomes normal.
Because that's almost a belief as well that was kind of reinforced on your way as, like, they're the weird ones.
Yeah.
You aren't. Like,
definitely.
We're not weird.
Everyone
don't worry about
outside of that was weird, they're strange.
That's why you don't want to go to public school, because they turn out weird, like, things like that.
Public school kids are weird.
Yeah.
We had a public school right next to us, and we got kept away from those kids. Like, we went up to the fence one time, and we didn't realise that they thought we were weird. We were sitting there thinking they were weird. We ended up throwing rocks at each other, and one of them run off crying, and so we were like, yeah, we win.
Why does that almost sound like a South Park episode?
It's a good South Park episode, yeah.
So, looking back now, can you see how your sense of right and wrong or good and bad started being shaped during that time then? Like, were you starting to categorise things as only being good or only being evil? Like, from a young time? Like,
so...
And, like, this is the only right way. That way's wrong. Like, this is wrong. I can't do that. I can only do this.
So, normally, you grow up knowing right and wrong.
Yeah.
In this world, you grow up knowing...
Good and evil.
Good and evil, but also right and wrong. So, everything outside of this is wrong, is evil. Everything inside of this is right and good, but also what they tell you is wrong and evil is wrong, and evil, it gets really confusing as a kid.
So because we've talked about this part already, I'm going to ask you this now so we don't have to dive any deeper into it next time. Okay?
Yeah. How
were you guys, say, punished? Do you remember your earliest punishment then for, say, doing something that they believed was wrong? Because surely you can just walk up to a child and just explain to them that this was wrong. We don't like the way that you're doing it. Especially because if they're just new there, you know, like, this is wrong, we don't like that.
You'd think that if a kid was doing something wrong, you could explain that to them. You could maybe tell them to go weed the garden or something.
Like, especially, in a farming environment like that, you're like, go weed the garden, go do this, maybe go help in the kitchen.
Go do some extra chores today, you know, like something like that.
So is that how you guys were punished?
No. I went back to my mother, or whatever parent the kid belonged to, and then usually it was either a wooden spoon or there's a rubber stick that they all had that was like this long and about this thick, and it was just solid rubber, and straight on the hand, whack.
They allowed
corporal punishment. They encouraged corporal punishment. They encouraged corporal punishment. So the belief there would have been manual labour isn't a punishment.
Isn't there something about that in the...
There's something about that in the Old Testament. Yeah. That's what I mean by them picking and choosing. So in the Old Testament, spare the rod.
Yeah.
Spare the rod, save the child.
Yeah,
something like
something
that.
Along those lines.
And they very strongly believe in that.
They took that in the wrong context.
Don't spare the rod at all. They seem to enjoy... Yeah.
So... Right now then, to kind of cap everything off then, if you could sit down right now next to your 4-year-old version, right? Like, you can even pretend right now that I am that 4-year-old version. what would you say to him?
Boy, that's a loaded question and a half.
That 4-year-old that's preparing to move into a place that he has no idea what he has in store for him. That 4-year-old that is in his first week there, that's looking at these people that are dressed all weirdly and all alike, that are singing hymns and that. What would you say to him?
Ride it out, it'll all pass. There's a life outside of it and after it. And you'll get to see your dad again.
Because that was a big part.
That was a big thing. But yeah, that's basically what I'd say.
Wow. Thank you for sharing the first part. And sorry, that's part 1. That's before the cult. In our next episode, we're going to fast all the way forward to what life looks like for him now. So that'll be life after leaving, starting to heal, finally processing, and basically trying to rebuild a life. Later on, we'll be coming back to the middle, which will be the time that he was spent in there. But we wanted to give you basically a full scope of who he was before and who he is now, before we dive into the big, heavy stuff of what it was like in there. So thank you for being here with us. This conversation is real and raw, as you can tell, and it's still unfolding, and we're just very grateful for you guys listening.
I didn't mean to put my fist up. I thought we were going to fist bump. There.